Welcome back to my response to a whole bunch of different philosophical and religious claims made in response to me. We left off talking about why you have to believe in God to believe in some sort of objective meaning to life, which is something I don't believe in, but which nevertheless can be included in an atheistic worldview. And meaning in general is going to be a big focus in this last part.
I cannot think of an objective meaning to life in an atheistic or a naturalistic world.
Okay, I'm sure there's lots of things you can't think of, but you don't have to think of every idea yourself. You could just go read what other people think about it.
And when we talk about meaning of life, of course we're gonna refer to an objective meaning.
No? Okay, so to be clear, by objective we mean true even if nobody's there, right? It's a standard that exists independent of a mind. It's not just something from somebody's mind. If there were no one to have any opinion about it, no humans, no gods, no minds at all, then even so, it's still the case that if a human suddenly popped into existence there, this would be the meaning of its existence. This is why it matters. Now, I've been telling you that there are atheistic worldviews that incorporate this kind of thinking. There's a very large contingent of them in East Asia, which is the subset of Buddhists there who don't believe in gods. That's not all Buddhists by a long shot. The South Asian ones tend to be a little bit more theistic, and there are, of course, theistic Buddhists in East Asia as well. But still, that's a pretty large group of objective morality, objective meaning type atheists in the world. This is not some unicorn, some difficult thing to find. There are many of these people. All I've been telling you is that these type of people exist. What I haven't been telling you is that they're right. I think they're mistaken, both that this objective purpose exists, whatever it happens to be, and that somehow it takes the onus off of you of defining your own purpose if it does. Let me explain. I think that all it means for life to mean something, grammatically, basically, is that it means something to you. If you see the meaning of your life as to follow God, or to achieve an afterlife, well, that's coming from you. That's you putting a priority on something. You think serving God matters, or following God matters, or achieving heaven matters, or whatever it is. You think achieving enlightenment matters, or achieving a good karmic reincarnation matters, or striving for the highest good matters. Reality can in some way dictate to you what it thinks you should think matters, what it thinks you should think your purpose is, what its purpose for you is. And yet, you're going to have to be convinced that that's the truth. You're going to have to make the choice to pursue that. You're going to have to place value on it yourself. No matter what you think the purpose is, no matter what you think the meaning is supposed to be, no matter what you think is supposed to matter, if anything, the only way for that to have relevance to your life is for you to choose to treat it that way. And so I see no distinction between my purpose in life is to serve God real good and go to heaven, or my purpose in life is to learn to paint real good and make a great painting. In both cases, you've just decided that that's the thing. And that's exactly what you said you did in your video about why you returned to Christianity. You defined your own purpose, and then you attempted to believe that that was in fact your purpose, and chose to pursue it, based on your own subjective priorities. So you simply chose some arbitrary purpose that you didn't believe, but which you found to have some sort of utilitarian value, and you started living as if that was true. Well, an atheist can do that too. This is what I'm telling you. An atheist can just say, the purpose of life is to be happy and experience nice things, and then live as if that's objectively true. That's as justified as what you're doing, because it's exactly the same as what you're doing. But that doesn't make it actually true, and in neither case is it anything other than you just interpreting life in a way that you subjectively prefer. Both of you. I don't care if you call the thing you're striving for objectively true. I don't care if you say that that's your objective purpose, or that it gives your life some objective meaning. It's still all just you. You didn't change anything. Here's the clip.
I realized that, well, atheism leads to nihilism. There is no afterlife, there is nothing after we die, so when we die there is nothingness. We experience nothing, we remember nothing. Which means that the things that we do don't actually matter. Everything in life will be the same no matter what you did when you die. And so everything in the end is meaningless. I was a nihilist. And so I was thinking to myself, well, surely I have to give this at least one more chance. I mean, there's nothing to lose, because even if the current atheist self that I was is correct, and the world is completely nihilistic, then it still doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I believe in a God or don't believe in a God. So surely I should choose the one which gives me the most utility while I'm still alive. And so I started thinking like, well, I'm looking at all these people and, it doesn't matter what happens. These religious people just say, well, it's God's plan, and then they move on. It's like this superpower that they have, and I'm like, I want that. I want that utility of that belief, and well, now I gotta go get it. Because even if I'm right in the sense that the world is completely nihilistic, then it doesn't matter. It's just better if I have that belief in God while I'm still alive. And if I'm correct about God, then surely it matters, and that's a positive thing. So no matter the situation, I should believe in God. And when I realized that, I'm like, okay, now I gotta find a way. I gotta find some arguments for this. Because I have to convince myself.
Very long clip, I know, but it's an absolutely fascinating way of thinking. You're supposedly a nihilist, and it's so terrible to think nothing matters, and so it really, really matters that I find some way to think something matters. Okay, well, you seem to already kind of think that. You could just call it objective, if that matters to you for some reason, and call it a day. But you from previously in this video would say, what happens if you ask why at every stage, and you carefully and deeply interrogate the truth of the thing, and you find some inconsistency at the foundation of the belief? Well, so what? You just said you don't care if it's true anyway. You just want to believe whatever you want. Truth be damned, so who cares? If you want to believe whatever you want, pick and choose. Believe whatever you want. If you want to redundantly assign some objective meaning or purpose or importance to things beyond the fact that you already feel that way about them, then just do that. Why tack the God on? That doesn't change anything. You can already have what you want without it. But how could I have that without God? I think it needs God to make it true. Yeah, but your approach is truth be damned. Why are you so selective about that? I can guess, but I don't want to accuse you of anything. Anyway, do you see what I'm saying? You might say you're following some objective purpose, or you might say that you're seeing some objective meaning in your life, but you've chosen what meaning you want to see. You've chosen what purpose you want to have first, and then you've tried to convince yourself that that's true. How is this not exactly the same as some atheist who comes up to you and says the objective purpose in life is to be good to each other? Something like that. You're going to tell that person he's being more subjective than you are? Really? The same thing goes for the morality. You already had moral positions and you went out looking for some way to pretend that they're objective. You already wanted there to be some way to dismiss the things that happen in your life that you don't like, and you looked at the Christians and you saw them saying, well, it's just God's plan, and then dismissing it, and you could have just followed their lead and dismissed bad things that happen in your life, because that's all they're actually doing, regardless of the terminology used, but instead you went looking for some way to feel like you have supernatural backup in doing so. All this God, quote-unquote, belief of yours is a way for you to feel better about doing the things you already wanted to do and thinking the things you already thought. I don't get it, man. It seems so overwhelmingly pointless. You were already there. You haven't moved an inch. You've stayed in the same place, but you've put up a sign with a fantasy wizard and a dragon on it to spice things up. That's it.
It would be ridiculous if I said to you, oh look, I found some apples. What?
What if that belief has a utility? Then you'd chow down on that lens cover, right?
Like, these are not objective apples. This is not even a fruit.
Genuinely, I'm not even trying to be funny. I don't understand why that you find to be a problem, and the way that you chose to start believing in God not to be. I truly don't understand it. How do you find truth be damned in one case to be ridiculous and truth be damned in the other case to be totally cool and a thing you want to do?
So of course, when we ask, what is the meaning of life? We're thinking about a grand objective meaning.
Well, only if you specify that when you say the term the meaning of life, you only mean a grand objective meaning of life. But I don't mean that when I say that. To me, what life means is what it means to me. It would be absurd for me to think that what my life means to me is what it means to someone else or to the cosmos or something. It's about me and my interpretation of my own life. When I talk in those terms, that's what I'm referring to. If that's not what you're referring to, fine, don't then. But if you ask me to talk about the meaning of my life, and so I tell you what my life means to me, and you tell me, no, I meant some grand objective purpose, you idiot. Don't be ridiculous. Well, don't be surprised if I'm impolite in response.
Like, we're not thinking about, oh, well, no, I guess we could just make something up.
Literally, you are. That's your entire worldview. I'll just make something up because it makes me feel good. You've explicitly stated that. Look, I'm open to being challenged on this, but not by you, not at this point. I won't be held to some standard that you don't hold yourself to.
Like, that's not what we're asking there.
If you ask what my life means and I interpret that differently from what you actually meant to ask better.
Next, the nihilistic view that there's no meaning. Well, I've already pretty much answered that. What it means for there to be meaning is that something means something to someone. Things mean things to people. If it doesn't mean something to some god or whatever else, that's not relevant. It means something. That's tautologically true. There's no way for it to be false. It means something, therefore it means something.
Okay, how about this? I'm gonna take your definition right now, because I don't want to play semantics. Let's use your definition of meaning. Now, in 1 billion years, the universe collapses, everyone's dead.
1 billion years until the universe collapses? That's a pessimistic estimate, but okay.
Nothing means anything to anyone then.
I agree. If the universe collapses, regardless of how far in the future that is, nothing will mean anything to anyone then. Yes. And that changes now how?
So in the end, it's all meaningless in atheism.
Yeah, and to some rural farmer in Indonesia who I've never met, it's meaningless if my car breaks down today. So what?
Right? There is no afterlife. There is nothing eternal. Meaning that in the end, it's all meaningless.
Okay, but that's the distant future. You weren't talking about that. You were using the present tense this entire time. We're not talking about what means what to who at some distant point in the future when none of us are here. We're talking about what means something to you or to me right now. Here, while you're alive. What does 1 billion years from now have to do with it? You don't live then. You're not making this video 1 billion years from now. You're not going through your little existential crisis that made you want to believe in God 1 billion years from now. What is the relevance of this to now?
Isn't that basically what I'm saying?
No, prior to this, you were talking about nothing means anything, with an S on the end. Now you're talking about nothing will mean anything. By your pessimistic estimate, there are 1 billion years of separation between the two things you're talking about. These are not the same thing.
Next, the nihilistic view that there's no nothing. Well, I like the double negative there because
there is no nothing. Yeah, that is pretty funny. I must agree.
Thanks, bro.
No truth. There is truth. There are statements that accurately describe reality and ones that don't. No right and no wrong. No, there is right and wrong, according to human ideals, but that's a human concern. There's not some cosmic final standard for it beyond us.
No, it's good that you agree that there is no right or wrong.
I literally said, quote, no, there is right and wrong.
Like you said, there is no cosmic right or wrong.
Right, that's a different thing.
There is simply systems that we make, and then we can look if things align with those systems that we have made.
I like the way you pronounce your Y's. Systems. It's very cool. I actually like it a lot.
But that does not make something right or wrong.
Well, yes, it does. I'm telling you that that's what right and wrong actually mean. It's like saying that if you measure something with a tape measure, and it lines up to the 0 and it lines up to the 1 inch mark, that doesn't actually make it an inch just because we decided what an inch is. No, that's an inch. That's what it means to be an inch. It's objectively an inch, according to that standard. And yet the standard comes from us. The standard is subjective. You have no problem with this in any area of life. You do the exact same thing when you weigh yourself, or use a measuring cup, or talk about a book being well written. But here it's a problem.
Once again, when I ask if there is something right or something wrong, I'm asking for objective things.
Yeah, I know you are, because you think right and wrong mean something different from what I think they mean. But when you tell me that I don't believe in right and wrong, we have a problem, because I do believe in those things, according to what I think those concepts mean, according to a different philosophical school of thought from yours. Of course I agree that when I say I believe in right and wrong, I don't mean what you mean. But this is why, if you're looking for a specific kind of response, you have to be more specific in your question. If you just say, you don't believe in right and wrong, I'm going to say, yes, I do. I believe in those things as they exist within my philosophical worldview, and here's what that means. If what you want to say is you don't believe in objective right and wrong, then say that every time. Otherwise, I'm going to challenge you every time. Because if you're not specific, and I respond to that non-specific thing as if you mean something that it's easy to take you as not meaning, for one thing I might be wrong about what you mean, and for another thing that could be misinterpreted. I'm speaking on YouTube. I'm going to be careful what I agree to ensure that it's fairly difficult to misrepresent me. So if you flatly say to me, you don't believe in right and wrong, I'm not just going to add the word objective to it inside my head and pretend that's there and say, yeah, you're right. You're the one who wanted me to talk philosophy. That means I'm going to be very specific, at times overly specific. And there are reasons for that behavior. Deal with it.
What is objectively right to do in X situation or wrong to do? And if there is no such answer, then there is no right and wrong.
See, you're doing it again. Do you see why I can't agree with that statement when you put it that way? I have a different view of morality from yours, so while you might not think my view of right and wrong count as right and wrong at all, I think they do, and thus I will insist upon correcting you when you fail to specify. That's just how this is gonna go. It's how it's always gone. It's not gonna change.
Now you can say that, oh well, we can just make a system. But then it's like, well, why should we make a system?
Oh, god damn it.
Why is making a system better than not making a system at all?
It's like being whacked in the head with a water wheel. Every time you think it's over, another paddle comes along.
Surely you need some sense of better and worse, right and wrong, to even justify making a system.
Okay, I've repeated myself on this far too much. All I'll say is you would really benefit from learning how to stop conflating different senses of words.
Because if there is no right or wrong, then it's no more right to make a system than to not make one.
I'm just kind of skipping through this stuff now. I'm not going to respond to any of this if this is all it is.
That's kind of what I said with bad wording. I was not the best at articulating my thoughts, I must admit.
Uh-huh. Boy, am I getting tired of this.
And I don't want to take, in a sense, anything away from the possible badness of my video.
You know, the problem with both this video and the previous one isn't really articulation. It's not that you have great ideas and if you just said them better, they would come through better. The problem is that your ideas are kind of a mess. I think you're articulating them as well as you could, as well as anyone could. But the problem is they don't really cohere with themselves very well. And in some ways, you're just sort of misunderstanding a lot of stuff, which if it's a sincere misunderstanding or just a sincere lack of thought, that's okay. Everybody's been there at some point or another. A lot of people stay there. It's the willfulness, though, that gets under my skin. When you say things like that you actually don't care what's true, but then you scold other people for not having perfect justifications for everything, including their basic axioms, the hypocrisy of it, the double standard, gets really frustrating after a while.
But I think if you truly give it thought, look at it with an open mind, I don't think I say something that's ridiculous.
I think you've said many things that are ridiculous. If you want to tell me that's just because my mind isn't open enough, fine. Think what you want. I don't care. You don't even care about reality. You don't care about the truth. You're gonna think whatever you want anyway.
I think most people can agree that, well, in an atheistic world, there probably is no grand meaning to life, like you agreed, and there is no objective right and wrong, like you agreed.
I don't know, man. What about normie atheists? Just the people who walk around and don't make YouTube videos, don't write books, don't read books about philosophy. They're atheists, but not philosophical at all. What do you think about them? Because these ideas of the objective meaning of life and the objective right and wrong are very baked into society. We've had a thousands of years long philosophical tradition that espouses them, and they've been very influential politically, religiously, and otherwise, and just broadly culturally. I wonder how common it actually is for an atheist to hold a position like mine. Off YouTube, off the internet entirely, and outside of anything to do with philosophy. I don't know, I know about, for example, some Pew polling of atheists, but I don't think they really ask specifically those questions. Now, well, not really important, just a question.
No lies. Yes, of course there are lies. A lie is an untrue statement made intentionally to deceive. This occurs.
Now, I would say, when I meant there is no truth, there is no lie, in a sense, those are false statements that I made, and I must admit. But I must say that what I, in a sense, meant is that there is no reason to believe what is truth, or no reason to not believe that which is a lie.
Okay, well, obviously I don't agree with that either, but thank you for the clarification, I guess.
And once again, if there is no objective morality, you can never make the objective statement that we ought to believe the truth.
And you can when there is objective morality? Well, only if you have an objective morality that dictates that you ought. But how does yours? I've said all this before too. Just keep going.
So what I said, as in there is no reason to believe in the truth, and there is no reason to not believe in a lie, is true in a world without objective morality. Now, when it comes to there is no reason to do anything, isn't that true? Isn't that what it means when we're in an atheistic world and we eventually die, and then nothing that we ever did meant anything because we don't experience anything? We're literally just gone. Isn't that kind of meaningless?
No, because again, you're making present tense declarations based on the fact that in the future things will be different. Well, of course they will. That doesn't change now. Now is still the same. Yeah, then, when you're long dead, there won't be a reason to do anything. I agree. I'll give you that one. But that says nothing about now. Nothing at all. You're here now. You can do things for reasons. This is possible. And in fact, as an atheist, you do it all the time. You said you were a nihilistic atheist, and then you decided, you know what, I'm going to try to make myself believe in God because of the reason that I like that better. It feels better to me. It has the utility to me of allowing me to say that's just God's plan and dismiss my problems. So you did things for reasons. It's obviously possible, and not only possible, but as a human organism, basically inevitable unless you're a vegetable. Your own behavior shows that you're wrong. It shows that you will do this. You don't need it to matter in a billion years. You'll do it anyway. When you were upset that you found the world meaningless, you didn't need your upsetness to matter in a billion years for you to feel it and for you to do something about it. Nobody had to order you to care. Nobody had to order you to act. Nobody had to order you to follow that impulse. You just did, because that's what you are. You followed your nature. No should involved. No objective morality involved. This idea that you need this is wrong, and you are the evidence.
I mean, surely, once again, if we look at it from the perspective that when you die, everything that you did was meaningless. Now let's say, well, other people still consider it meaningful. Well, what about 10 generations into the future when everyone forgets you?
Then what matters to me won't matter to them. What does that have to do with whether it matters to me? What matters to me already doesn't matter to the vast majority of people on the planet. I can count on one hand the number of people who really care about most of my petty personal concerns. Even your closest friends don't really care that much about the detailed nitty-gritty of your life. You know, this is such a self-centered attitude. It's expecting the entire universe into the distant future to care about all the stuff you care about, and to care about you, because you're so important. Everyone should look to you in adoration. Why? Why? What does this do for you? Setting aside the question of why do you think it's true, because, you know, to be honest, I'm not even 100% convinced that you do think it's true. What do you even get out of it? Why would you want this? You say this as if it's something that's supposed to appeal to me. Have you ever met a toddler? Have you ever noticed how, because that kid hasn't quite developed a theory of mind and hasn't quite really learned to understand that other people are separate from it, that it seems to expect everyone else's lives and the entire world to revolve entirely around it? Yeah, this is that. I grew out of wearing footy pajamas a long time ago. No thank you. I'm perfectly happy for my life to be my life, and for it to have a start and an end, and for it to be what it is, such as it is, no more and no less. It has meaning to me, now. It will have meaning to me until the end. It may have meaning to others for a little while after, and then it won't. It'll be buried in the grave of the past, with everything it has, and lie there forever. If that means nothing to you, that's fine. I don't live for you. You can tie yourself up into existential knots and live in a fantasy of mattering to everyone forever. I won't.
Or what about when the universe collapses? Or humanity goes extinct in some way? surely at some point you have to admit that, well, all the things that we do are meaningless.
What happens in the future will circle back around and alter the present to make it meaningless now. Yes, we've heard this before a bunch of times, but no matter how many times I hear it, it boggles my mind that you think this makes sense. How is this even supposed to work?
And if everything is meaningless, then there is no reason to do anything, because it's meaningless.
Your argument is so garbage, it's just incoherent nonsense. How do you not see this? It's like saying your house will fall apart in 200 years, so it's not important now. It's the purest of nonsense.
Now, if you want to say that your subjective preference of, well, I have a reason to advocate for a world where people don't steal, like, sure, but in the end, it's meaningless in an atheistic world. Meaning that in the end, it didn't actually matter what you advocated for. It didn't actually matter how the world changed or didn't change. It's all meaningless, and there is not, in a sense, an actual real reason to do anything, because in the end, it'll be meaningless.
So here's a question for you. I'll probably never get an answer to any of these questions because this is really long and you probably won't watch it, but you seem to think that it's the afterlife that gives things meaning in the present, mainly because then you're not forgotten. Someone will eternally care, whether that's you or God or whoever, what you happened to eat for breakfast 2 weeks ago. Okay, so what if mind-body dualism is correct? You really do have a soul, but there's no God, no heaven, no hell. It's the ghost people who are right. You die, you leave your body as a disembodied spirit, and you wander the earth eternally. Or if the earth is gone at some point, then the location that used to be the earth. And you're alive in some sense as a ghost forever, caring so deeply about what you had for breakfast 2 weeks before now and what your reasons were. Does that satisfy you? It seems to me it fits all the criteria that you're asking for, and it's a whole lot simpler than your idea. Your idea has the soul idea embedded into it, plus a whole bunch of other stuff. The God is totally unnecessary to achieve what you appear to want, so why choose that in particular? It seems very arbitrary.
If you say there's literally no reason to ever do anything unless you're directly ordered to by God, you know that's false. You do things that you weren't ordered to do by God all the time. God didn't tell you to go to university. God didn't tell you to make a video. God doesn't tell you to wear a seatbelt. You don't need to look up in the Bible how to unscrew a screw. You just grab the screwdriver because you know that's going to work. These are things you do for your own reasons. So if there's no reason God told you, that does not mean there's no reason. And therefore, remember I said lies exist? Well, you saying there's no reason to do anything if you don't have God there telling you the reason is a lie. You know it's false. The vast majority of your behavior in your life shows this, and you say it anyway.
I don't know why you keep bringing up the Bible. Man, it's living in your head rent-free. I did not mention the Bible a single time.
Dude, how dumb do you think I am? Do you think you're some kind of sneaky guy? You think it's not dead-ass obvious you're a Christian even without knowing anything else about your channel other than that one video I watched? Seriously, it's not some big secret. You're a Christian. The scripture of the Christians is the Bible. That's why I bring it up. You say you get objective morality from somewhere. You say you get objective reasons to do things from somewhere. Well, where? Where? Answer the question. The only source of information you have about the wishes of the Christian God is the Bible. You're not a Talmudic Jew. I'm pretty sure you're going to look to the Bible. If not, then what? You're just going to decide what you want to do and do that and then say retroactively, yeah, God wanted me to? Actually, yeah, what am I saying? That actually is it. Okay, you're right, never mind. Your whole morality is just your subjective morality with God's name slapped on it. Silly me for getting that, my bad. But no, of course, the things you're saying aren't ridiculous. Not at all.
Nor did I say that everything that you do has to be commanded directly by God.
Yes, you did. That's what you said. God defines morality. That was what you said. If it's moral because God commanded that it's moral, he defined it that way, then it's exactly what I just said. To be fair, I don't know if it was in the original video or this one, but I was right about what the opinion was. One way or another, I knew what you were thinking. I don't need to be told because I know this Christian moral crap. Don't make me find the clip. There are way too many of them, but if I have to, I will. It's in there somewhere. Actually, you know what? Never mind. I'm gonna do it. I'd be annoyed at myself if I didn't.
If a God is all-powerful, surely they must, by definition, also have the power to define morality. I can explain to you why I believe that with a God, there can be objective morality. Once again, if God is all powerful, that by definition includes the power to define morality.
There you go. Yeah, it wasn't in the original video. I'll give you that much. But to make up for it, you said it twice here. I can read you like a book, man. So if God defines right and wrong, and the whole point is for you to be able to know what's right and wrong according to him and do it, how do you access the definitions? You haven't stated that once. You've implied but not actually said that it's not the Bible. If it's not just you made it up, and this is all just a fancy way for you to talk about your own subjective morality, then come out with it. Tell me your method. Stop beating around the bush.
What I mean with there is no lies is once again that, well, there is no reason to not lie. There is no reason to believe in the truth.
Okay, so do you think there's a reason to lie? Do you think there's a reason to not believe in the truth? Because otherwise I won't do those things either, right? I guess I'll just be a null human. Not even an automaton, just a non-functioning body, frozen in time. Not even my metabolic processes moving, because there's no reason for them to, right? God didn't define morality so that my cells have to function, or rot, or do anything else. What an odd world this would be, when organisms don't act as the organisms they are, unless some particular action is defined into morality by God. You know, in that case, it'd be really handy if I could convince all the bacteria in my fridge to believe in subjective morality. Then they'd realize there's no reason to do anything and stop making my food go bad.
No reason to not believe in lies, because to once again state that to even make the statement we ought to believe in the truth requires objective morality, which you said doesn't exist. And to deal with the meaningless once again, the reason why there is reasons to do things, even when God doesn't command them, in a world with a God, is because if there is an eternal afterlife, our decisions here matter. The things that we do matter because it affects us for eternity.
Okay, to start with, you said the reason to do something is because it's defined as objectively right to do by God. These are the commandments of God. Now, if you want to follow objective morality, or if you want to deceive others into following it, which you said quite some time ago now that you're interested in doing, shouldn't you first know what it is? Sure, okay, fine. Your behavior has eternal afterlife consequences, but how will you know what behavior has what consequences if you don't have some means of accessing God's commandments, God's definitions of which behavior has which consequence? But going on from that, you seem to be convinced that God at least has some admonition that you must not lie and you must accept truth. Because you're saying if you don't believe in God, if you don't believe in objective morality, you might not have any reason to do that. Fine, who knows where you got this information? Not the Bible, apparently. But you've openly and repeatedly stated multiple times in this video that you're more interested in believing lies than truth, if it suits you, and in deceiving others into obeying your will by lying to them about the existence of objective morality if you feel that suits you. So how can you complain that without your objective morality, people might do exactly that? You're doing it. You're advocating for it. You're behaving exactly opposite to what you say God's objective morality says. All while claiming that your adherence or lack thereof to objective morality will have eternal consequences. And yet you openly defy God by lying and ignoring the truth because falsehoods suit you better. How do you make this make sense in your head? Now, another thing, there are so many ways this is a broken thought. Now you're saying that the reason it matters what you do is that it affects you for eternity. It has eternal afterlife consequences. Okay, and why does that matter? Why do you care whether you get a reward? Why do you care whether you get a punishment? Why do you care whether you live forever? Why do you care if you die forever? That's just a subjective preference too. That's just a feeling too. That's not objective, that's subjective. And for that matter, still, why do you care if you experience pain in this life? Why do you care about anything that happens to you in this life? Those things don't have eternal consequences. You're not going to hell because a brick fell on you and you didn't really mind that much. Or are you? Make all of this make any sense.
But in an atheistic world, where we just die and there's nothing, our actions don't matter because in the end, it doesn't matter. Everyone will just die. Boom. You won't even experience or remember with the things that you did.
Okay, and why do you care about that? Why do you prefer one over the other? What reason do you have? Okay, one ends and one doesn't. Great. How does that make one inherently more preferable than the other? Just the mere fact that you happen to prefer it? Yeah, but that's my atheistic way of doing things. You need some objective way it's more preferable. Like it has preferability baked in, not just length. It's almost as if your preferences come first and everything else comes after. And that's what I was saying.
So in a sense, if we have an eternal afterlife, we have a reason to do things. If we don't, then we don't have a reason to do things.
I'm not seeing it, man. Even within the context of your worldview, that doesn't seem to be the case. Not objectively. You seem to just prefer heaven over hell. That's subjective preference. That's exactly the same as preferring one ice cream over another. Yeah, see, now I'm using it. The Christians always use that. Figured I'd try it for once. Most of this video has been about it's not good enough just to care about something, you have to have some reason why you should. Otherwise you're being unreasonable, which apparently you feel you should care about. So you go looking for a solution, some reason that you should care about anything, despite you already doing it. So you start caring about the afterlife just because you care about the afterlife, and it gives you some reason to care about anything, which you already really cared about finding. And this gives you some sort of firm reason why you should care about things that's not based on you just caring about things. And that reason is that there are eternal consequences, and you just kind of care about that because your reason for caring about the things that justify caring and your reason for caring about justifying it at all is still just you just care about it. How do you think this is a solution to the problem you think there is of thinking you need some reason why you should care about every single thing that you care about? And really, it's not even a problem just with the afterlife, it's a problem with the entire idea. Because if the only reason to care about anything is that you should care about something, why care that you should care? At the very least, you're going to have to just care that you should. If you don't just care about should, then the should isn't going to make you care. Because you don't care, and there's no you should care before the thing that makes you should care. It can't precede itself. The afterlife and everything, that's just details. This is the fundamental problem you need to solve, and I'm afraid you're not going to. If you don't stop at some point at I just care because I care as the foundation of it all, you're just going to get into an infinite regress of I should care because I should care that I should care because I should care that I should care that I should care, and so on. And you've already pointed out you find this to be a problem. You think we shouldn't have infinite regression in our reasoning. You think we should have some kind of a foundation for it, apparently. So why are you fine with it here?
How do we escape these ideas when we can't even explain why somebody should believe in the truth instead of conspiracy theories?
So what's the plan here? You're just gonna morally shame conspiracy theorists? Tell them, God doesn't want you doing that, man! And you think that's gonna work?
I mean, I know that it seems to be very hard to understand, and it seems to be very hard to think about logical and philosophical things.
Get on with it. I don't care.
But if there is no objective morality, then you cannot say that someone ought to believe in the truth because there is no objective better or worse.
Okay, and I'm supposed to care because apparently there's some sort of utilitarian benefit, such as being able to scold conspiracy theorists, apparently. No? Then why bring it up? This approach of doing everything for some utilitarian reason is perfectly in line with everything else you've said. You believe in God because then you can say that's just God's plan and ignore your problems. You believe in objective morality because you want to be able to say you have a reason to do stuff that has nothing to do with morality. You believe in the afterlife because then you'll have some heaven to prefer over a hell for subjective reasons, and you think that somehow objectively makes your decisions matter because they suit your preference. And you want other people to believe in objective morality so the conspiracy theorists won't conspiracy theorize anymore. This seems perfectly consistent. Every step of the way, you act on your subjective preferences. Every step of the way, you do things just because you think it's going to get you something you already want. Why would I not think that's the case here? You're acting as if this is some sort of unreasonable guess as to what you intend to do. But you're open about how you think. I'm just extrapolating from what you've said.
And so, if somebody believes in conspiracy theories instead of the truth, you cannot say that their beliefs are any worse morally than if they believed in the truth.
I don't think they are. I think they're mistaken. Why would I look for some excuse to think it's immoral to be wrong? Everybody's wrong sometimes, unintentionally. I think you're wrong. I don't think you're immoral. That's just human fallibility. So you really do care about it being immoral to be wrong about something so much that you, as the former atheist you were so desperate to make it real. You thought it mattered so highly that you went intentionally seeking out some way to believe it was an objective fact. So you were a nihilist who thought nothing had any importance, but you found it so important to be able to go up to some kid who put 4 + 3 is 8 on a math test and say, "You're immoral, kid, you're a bad person, burn in hell," that you changed your entire life to make it happen. Okay.
Is that so hard?
What, that being incorrect about something makes you morally bad? Well, I mean, it's not hard to understand the words, but if I were to try to accept it as true, I would have a time, yeah. I think you're wrong, and therefore a bad person.
Well, all political ideas are somehow equal.
Different political ideas have different outcomes. If you care about the outcome for whatever reason, that's going to shape which political idea you gravitate towards. It's very confusing to me why you find this confusing.
Okay, it seems that you are incapable to understand the philosophical topic that I'm talking about here.
How so? I just agreed with you. You implied that you think political ideas are not equal, and I told you, indeed, they're not. Literally, they're not, because they're different ideas. And therefore, they can be perceived differently by many different value judgments made for many different reasons. If you think ideas aren't equal, why does it bother you when I say that?
Let's go through this together.
We could just skip it and get to the end. It's so close. I'm so tired.
Are all political ideas equal?
No, objectively not.
If the answer is no, then why are some better than others?
Because they're being compared to a system of value judgments that makes them better than others. Like yours, that you pulled right out of your ass, and then pretended it came from God and God wants you to use it.
Because they give it different outcomes.
Yeah, that's not always going to be the reason, but that's what I would prioritize, sure. Deontology, virtue ethics, that's not going to be the concern. But you and I both seem to care about consequences, utility, so it seems like we'd be able to agree on that. I know we won't.
That's a valid answer.
Oh, well, all right then.
Why do I care if they give different outcomes?
Not relevant to the question. The question was if political ideas are equal. We've established that they are in fact not. Now you're asking something else that you've asked 1,000,000 times before. Not doing it.
Now please answer that.
We're getting to the end. I'm not gonna answer this question 1,000 more times.
Now, whatever you answered, just ask why again.
Well, why should I? You're advocating for just believing whatever you feel like. So according to you, who cares why? Why is the thing for me? You're advocating for the abolition of why. Just do what you feel like. Believe in God because you want that's just God's planned superpower. And to pretend everyone else has to share your moral opinions. And to feel like every petty thing you do will matter forever. You don't care about why deeper than that. Give me a break. Acting like you have any intellectual interest in this question whatsoever.
And eventually, you'll end up at the point of this video.
The point of this video is for you to enjoy scolding others for doing things for subjective reasons, unlike you who do things for subjective reasons. There really doesn't seem to be much more point than that.
You see, if there is no objective morality, meaning that there is no objective good or bad, it makes all political ideas equal, because no outcome is better than the other, because better and worse don't exist without morality.
And again, apparently the atheists have no morality. We're dropping the objective again, and pretending like some opinion being subjective means there's no opinion there at all. Moral opinions are subjective. They're preferences for human behavior. Yours are as subjective as mine. That has been demonstrated exceedingly well. You've said as much. You know what? I'm getting real sick of this. There was some repetition before, but there was at least something occasionally that was kind of interesting. That seems to have stopped. I'm going to skip everything that's just repetition and resume at whatever the next clip is, because I'm done. I want to finish the video.
In atheism, there is no afterlife. And if you believe in an afterlife, then how can you view the idea of a God ridiculous? What evidence do you have for an afterlife that you cannot use for a God?
Oh, well, you see, the idea of an afterlife makes me warm and cozy, and the idea of a God doesn't. And that's how I make my decisions. I learned it from watching you.
Now, of course, once again, if there is a God, then objective morality comes from God quite logically, because if God is eternal, all-knowing, all-powerful, so on, then surely that is the most objective thing that could ever exist.
Hold on. God is objective, therefore objective morality logically comes from God? I'm objective. You're objective. The ground is objective. Objective just means something is real beyond the mind. It has actual mind-independent reality. How are you getting the morality of any being is not subjective if the being itself is objective? That has nothing to do with the morality, that's about the being. It seems like you don't even understand the most basic terms of the discussion.
It's the most objective thing that could possibly exist is an eternal, all-powerful, all-knowing being. How more objective can you get than that?
No more or less objective. Something either objectively exists or it doesn't. It's not a scale. It's not defined by how powerful you are. You're not more objectively real if you're more powerful. And you don't gain, like, objectiveness points and then your moral opinions become more objective as a result because of your objectivity power level. You have no clue, do you? No idea what this conversation is about. Why are you engaging with me? This was a bad choice. Morally bad. You're a terrible person. I hope you burn in hell. I'm joking. That should be obvious, but at this point I don't take that for granted.
Then the morality defined by such a being. Like, do you believe that objectivity is impossible?
Define objectivity, because I think I've figured out the problem that I've been confronting for the last hours.
I mean, at least I hope I cleared up some of the ideas in the video.
No, you did the opposite. This video is the most confusing, tangled mess of half-baked ideas I've heard in a long time. That's why, even though it was so long, way longer than a video I'd normally respond to, I really wanted to respond to it. That's why I've spent 4 full-length videos on it. Because while it can be at times repetitive, there's a lot of fascinating stuff here. In my opinion, this one made for 4 good, hearty, nourishing meals. So thanks for that, at least. And by the way, before we get to the end, I know you're probably not watching, but I want to invite you to my Discord. I do a private hangout with patrons once a month, usually, on some Sunday or another. I can't really be too choosy about that, but I would recommend if you want to talk further, don't try to respond to all of this. I mean, you can if you want. You're welcome to. It's a lot, right? Maybe answer the questions in a video. Pick those out, do those. That'd be cool. But if you want to just talk, come to the hangout. I'll give you the role so you can get in. I joke about you being a bad person. That's just me taking your ideas to their conclusions, obviously. I think you're cool, though. I think your ideas are tangled up, but I like your attitude. I like your fightsiness. And if you continue to approach things the way you have, I think you'll have fun on this site. You seem to like arguing. I know the feeling. There's plenty of opportunities for that. So see you around. Let's finish this up. Less than a minute left.
And at least some of you are starting to understand what I actually meant in the video, even though I articulated it very poorly. At least now, maybe some of you will understand what I meant and understand that, hey, maybe this guy isn't completely ridiculous after all.
I wish you luck with that. Sincerely, though, I think you need to invest a bit more thought into your ideas. And I think you can, and you probably will. And in a few months or a year, maybe things will mesh a lot better. But I think for that to happen, the first thing you're going to have to do is drop this idea that the truth doesn't matter. When you deny truth, that affects everything. And if you're interested in philosophy, which you sort of imply that you are, the first step is to prioritize at least trying to find true answers. Not just stroking your feelings or stroking your ego. But if you'd prefer to keep on doing that instead, well, again, I wish you luck with people not thinking you're ridiculous.
But the whole point was that, hey, even if the world is completely naturalistic and atheistic, there's not really a reason to be an atheist. Because you can never make the state that I ought to be an atheist if there is no objective morality.
Well, I didn't choose to be an atheist. I'm an atheist because nobody ever convinced me there's a God. It's not some utilitarian choice any more than it's a utilitarian choice for me not to believe in humanoid purple aliens on a planet orbiting Proxima Centauri. I'm not choosing not to believe that for some reason. Just nobody made me. If I don't think it's likely true, I can't believe it. At least not right now. It'd be a logical impossibility.
And well, yeah, I think a point is now made.
If you say so.
Anyway, that's my thoughts. And have a great day.
You as well. And the audience, too. Thank you for watching possibly all of these. If you would, before you go, please do give the video a like and click subscribe if you haven't. Even the other parts of this. The middle parts never get nearly as many likes because people don't want to like them all. I get it, but it's really helpful if you do though. If you like the channel, maybe consider supporting. A couple of bucks per video or per month is enormously helpful, and huge thanks to all of my supporters who've already made that choice. For early access, email list.logicked.com. I'm going to get a drink. See you next time.